Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel and more SPQR coverage. So we're keeping on with our series here, taking a look at the factions again and seeing how things have changed in the new edition. So we're going to kind of do our side-by-side here. So we're going to focus mainly on the new book, but we do have the old one next to us as well, just to kind of see again what has changed, what stayed the same, and kind of comment on things as we go along here. So starting off with the hero, and then we're focusing on Gaul today, in case we hadn't mentioned that. So again, we're moving right along kind of alphabetically through the factions again. So the hero has seen a 5-point discount down to 40. Stat-wise, everything else has stayed the same there. And then this is one of those toolbox heroes where they kind of don't come with any equipment whatsoever, and you have a whole hell of a lot of options as to how you really want to kit them out. And again, the big changes in this edition are the way that shields work and swords, just because of the lack of parrying anymore. So shields basically get you armor rerolls, and the sword essentially has no special function anymore by itself. Again, heroes, though, of course, will still have their talents and things, which some of them can be needed for swords. Short spears have seen an increase in use with reach. Again, we've explained that in a separate video. Check out our armor and weapon videos as to the changes there. And then, even though we don't see it here, but double check just to make sure before we say that it's not here, but things like two-handed swords as well have also seen a change with reach for them as well. But moving through the equipment list here, some things have gotten more expensive. The small shield has doubled in price to 4. The large shield has doubled, actually not doubled, my gosh. Before, the large shield and small shield were both 2 denarii, and the Gauls here, there's different. Large shield has gone from 2 to 8, so quadruple increase there, but kind of needed to be differentiated. With before they were the same point values, so I mean, you basically kind of always took the large shield. Leather armor has gone up a point to 6. Chainmail shirt to 16, so only a 1-point increase there. The helmet has tripled to 6 denarii, and the short spear has gone up a point to 4. The dagger is still 2, and really, I don't know why you would put a dagger on a hero. Seems rather pointless. The axe has gone up from 5 to 8. The great axe has actually come down a point. Ooh, big discount there. 14. The sword has also dropped a point to 4. And they used to have the option to get a two-handed sword for the Gaul hero, but that is just gone now. Not sure if that's an oversight or not, but we got to go with what's on the page here, guys. So no more two-handed swords for you Gaul heroes. The bow was 3. That has gone to 4. And as usual, we've seen a discount in horses for everybody. So for heroes, that is. So that has dropped by 10 points now, guys, down to 20. And then you do still have the javelin purchase option if you want to go a little bit more short range work with the heroes, although those are 4 points apiece now as opposed to 2. So lots and lots of significant points bumps there. And the deletion of the two-handed sword. Thankfully, there really wasn't a model specifically with the two-handed sword before. But yeah, that is no longer a thing, guys. So keep that in mind. So overall, a bit of a base discount to the hero, about as cheap as heroes are going to come now at 40 points. But again, mitigated by the fact that so many things have gone up in points as well. So the druid has seen a huge drop, 75 points previously down to 45. So these guys are, they were good before, if just a bit pricey. Now they're fantastic, and really, you should be running at least 1 druid. Let's put it that way. Stat-wise, again, these guys are as fragile can be. They do provide a nice +3 bravery buff, which is pretty cool. But again, no armor to speak of, 2 wounds. So you want to keep these guys out of base contact. Basically, you could buy a dagger for them, which is, again, just basically pointless. At least I feel that way. But a sword for 4 can at least potentially be somewhat useful. They are a hero, so we could pursue talents for them if we can level them up, and kind of work on making them a little bit more survivable. But by and large, they're here to provide their special rules, their pseudo-magical rules here. So Blight, again, is going to provide a -1 penalty to one of an enemy hero's characteristics at the start of the game, and they've kind of clarified that basically an enemy hero can only be blighted by one druid at a time. Or one druid, I guess, period, for the battle, because again, you're choosing this at the start. So before, there was kind of that gray area where you could spam multiple druids and kind of just like nerf one of your enemy's heroes. Very costly way to do that, but that's kind of been clarified now. But the big benefit to the druid here is the druidic presence. So basically, they can't be challenged in combat, but certainly you don't really need to challenge them because they're kind of weak and squishy. So just get them in a position where they're going to have to take hits, and that will kind of kill them pretty quickly. But where they're really where they really excel is that final bit there. So basically, any Gaul unit that the druid leads may reroll any of its melee dice in close combat, which is huge because, again, parrying has essentially gone the way of the dodo in this edition. So there's not all kinds of like to hit roll rerolls that are being forced upon you for like successful rolls and all that. So having the ability to reroll your misses is really going to make those Gaul units hit hard, especially when they charge, and combining it with other things hypothetically like wild charge and other stuff like that. So definitely worth packing some druids into your list overall, especially for larger games. Kind of having a couple of super elite type units where really you got maybe some other heroes in there that are doing their various things, buffing units and making them kind of deadly, there to take the challenges for you. Not that the druid can be challenged, but again, you kind of want to keep enemy heroes from just rampaging through your rank and file as well in a lot of cases. But yeah, a reroll to all melee checks in combat, and that's not just for the first turn, boys and girls, right? That's throughout the whole fight. So that really just significantly increases the offensive firepower of the Gauls here. So some big changes already to see off the bat here, and we'll be back as we get into the minions. Alrighty, guys, and coming back and focusing on the first of our minion units, the sort of bog standard warrior here for the Gauls. As with basically every minion unit, everything is down to essentially one melee dice, except for kind of like super elite things. And generally in a lot of cases a points increase per model. So warriors have gone from 9 points base to 13. So again, it's going to be a little bit more pricey to achieve those truly like horde sized units. They do still come with a large shield and sword. Again, large shields are going to be great, but you do really, to get any benefit out of the large shield, you're going to have to really purchase some armor for them to make that worthwhile. So you could certainly go the Skyclad option if you want to just forego all that and really just focus on pure offensive firepower there, but just something to consider if you do want a little bit more defense and a little bit more of a durable unit, guys. So upgrade options here. So javelins remained the same, so that's always nice to see. Short spears have actually dropped a point, so they're only 1 point each, and again with the buff to short spears, that's actually pretty cool with reach. That being said, guys, it's no longer you no longer get to just add short spears to your weapons here. It actually replaces the sword, so that is something to consider. But again, overall, short spears have definitely become much more useful with essentially having reach and giving you that buff that we talked about there. Leather armor is drastically decreased, so it's going to be very easy to at least get these guys out with minimal armor. That's dropped from 5 down to 1, so that's actually really cool. So basically, if you change nothing else but add leather armor, they're still the same points. 9 plus 5 before, and here 13 plus 1. Chainmail shirts, however, have also decreased, so it's significantly easier now to get to essentially a pretty heavily armored unit for the Gauls here, although that is going to cost you in speed a little bit. So chainmail shirts are 6 instead of 12 now, and again, really going to give you some solid armor to stay in the fight. Helmets have actually also decreased to 1, so whether you pick a helmet or leather armor, there is essentially no difference. So that really doesn't matter there. Then moving on, the horn is still 10. That hasn't changed, but again, standards have come down to 5 because, again, their range has been halved. Again, check out our equipment video for more clarification on that. Skyclad, let's see if that has changed a little bit. So if a unit of warriors doesn't take any armor other than a large shield and there's no clothing at all, they gain +1 bonus to melee. So basically they just cleaned the wording up a little bit there, but it's basically the same thing, guys. So if you just want, again, the maximum sort of offensive firepower, it's going to cost you in the form of armor, or lack of armor, thereabouts, but having another +1 to melee is pretty damn scary, especially when you get a huge unit together. So rocking +3 melee with a reroll, potentially with a druid in there, is very scary. You're going to cause damage. Things like that too. If you switch out the swords for spears and give yourself reach as well versus units that don't have reach or long or very long, gets even scarier. Because then it's going to be harder for them to hit you. So, which is kind of like buying yourself armor a little bit in that sense, but I wouldn't, just rely on that. Strength in numbers still. So again, that's changed a little bit just to make it simpler. There's no more like worrying about whether it's 10 or larger or 20 or larger. It's just as long as you're a large unit now, you get +1 bonus to bravery. So that's all well and good there. And then wild charge again has changed to basically, again, not worrying about all kinds of complicated things there. So basically, as long as you're a unit of 10 or more and you charge, you're just adding a straight up 10 dice as opposed to worrying about which or each model in the unit gaining a melee dice, which could be somewhat unfair depending on units that were actually kind of relatively far away from base contact or anything like that. So basically, just as long as you can maintain a large unit size and then charge, you're going to get a just box standard 10 dice with, again, sort of maximum offense. Again, a large skyclad unit rocking +3 melee, potentially getting 10 extra dice to throw at the enemy. You've got the bonuses for charging in most cases, unless you're dealing with Pila or something. And then if you're rocking a druid as well, you get to reroll all that, which is, again, pretty damn scary when used at the right time and place. So overall, some really good changes to the warrior. The biggest thing, I think, is just if you do want to you can't really, again, I guess, rock swords and spears. It's either or now, but overall upgrade costs have come down, and even though the base cost of the unit is more expensive, it is far easier now to essentially rock light armor or heavy armor and kind of make the unit what you want, or still kind of go the skyclad route. So a model with chainmail and nothing else upgraded is going to run you 19, whereas before it was 21. So just a small decrease there, but all those points do matter. So we'll be continuing on here. We'll look at the cavalry and the other infantry that we have. Alrighty, guys, coming back and taking a look at the horsemen here. So our primary cavalry option, as an only cavalry option outside of mercenaries. So points have actually stayed the same, which is fairly rare for things that we've seen so far. Again, melee dice have dropped to 1 apiece, but everything else is essentially unchanged. That being said, I think we still have the typo here, unfortunately. I shouldn't say still. Before, they had a +1 armor stat because, again, horses provided an armor buff on top of a wound buff, but that is gone now, and these guys don't come with any base armor, so that is actually incorrect, guys. So this should actually say +0. Again, horses no longer provide basic armor, so you're going to have to get purchase armor to actually get a bonus there. So just to point that out. Oh, actually, I just noticed this. Melee has actually dropped by 1 on these guys, so they're only +2 now. Before, for whatever reason, their horsemen had +3 melee, so that is also gone. We do still have horse, short spear, and small shield, and again, spears have become significantly better in this edition, so actually pretty good overall now. So just overall, just, I guess, a generic increase in usefulness for the horsemen here. You still have the option to go javelins if you want. They are still the same point cost. Helmets have increased a point if you want that armor. Leather is the same. Before, they had a different point value for whatever reason, even though they provided the same benefit. Now they're both 3 points apiece, so whatever you choose, seemingly it doesn't matter, right? Chainmail has decreased in points, so much easier to make these guys essentially heavy-ish cavalry. So only 8 points versus 12 before. So basically 34 points apiece if you want fantastic armor. And again, chainmail isn't going to slow your speed down. So something very well worth considering. Before it was 12 and you'd be paying 38 points, which is rather expensive. So definitely worth considering that now. Interestingly here, unlike the warriors where we had to either choose between swords or short spears, here they actually just get to purchase them for free now, as opposed to having to pay for them like you used to. So that's a 3-point discount now. So and the fact that it doesn't say swap that for the short spears, I guess there's literally no reason not to take the swords, just for reasons, I guess. Yeah. Then the horn is still 10 points. Again, swords don't provide parry anymore, guys. We've been saying that multiple times, but just one of the bigger changes in this edition. There is no more parry. And then standards have come down again from 25 to 5. And these guys still have hit and run if you don't go the chainmail route. So, different ways to run the unit, basically. So if you want that heavy cavalry, of course, load up on the chainmail and, do your thing. You're definitely going to be a very durable unit. But if you want to really kind of make these guys more of a flanking force or flanking unit out of it and kind of practice those hit and run tactics, picking off light things, then, obviously if you leave the chainmail off, at least maybe get yourself some armor, whether it's a helmet or leather, and you can still run the hit and run tactics with them. Moving on, tribesmen now are 10 points versus 7 before. Again, the stats have changed a little bit. Melee dice is only 1. They do rock that +1 agility and the bravery. And as before, you have the option to go bow or sling. So that is a solid bit there. You can also go the javelin route. Those have stayed the same. Helmets have actually gone up a point if you want to go that route. Same thing for leather. Actually, leathers come down 2 points, but again, they're actually the same cost now because they provide exactly the same benefit. So whichever you choose ultimately doesn't matter. Before they had a difference in point values, even though they provided different things. So why, or provided the same thing. So why pay for leather armor before when the helmets were 3 points cheaper and did exactly the same thing? So I'm glad that's kind of been cleared up. Then small shields have actually dropped a point. So again, if you kind of want to transform these guys into pseudo hit and run kind of light infantry, you can definitely do that here. And swords can also still be purchased for 1 point cheaper. So really just depending on how much more expensive you want to make these guys, you can really effectively build a decent little multi-role skirmisher unit out of this, essentially. If you go the bow route, you're definitely going to be mobile and be able to sort of hit and run, or not, I shouldn't say hit and run because that's the special rule, but move and shoot as you get to what you need to get to. And then, assuming you bought a little bit of armor, the shield and the sword, for example, then you can just charge in, get some work done. Again, you're not going to be very durable, especially just rocking the +1 melee, but you can certainly try to clean up some units or support existing units. And then bounce out and go back to shooting if you need to. They do have the strength and number rule as well, though, which is interesting. So getting that bigger unit will give you +1 to their bravery, so they can at least stick around a little bit potentially with that. If you go the sling route, obviously I would probably just not buy anything else for them. Let them sit back and hold an objective and plink away from 30 inches, but some things to consider there. But overall, good stuff with the tribesmen, if just a small points increase there, but a lot of the equipment has come down, so it is essentially a wash there. Alrighty, guys, and as we get to the end of the list here, we get to the War Dogs unit. So a lot of similarities to the Britons. 15 points base now, so they've definitely gone up, which they really needed because they were basically too good before. Stat-wise, again, melee dice have come down for the handlers, or the tribesmen that are essentially the handlers for them. But the dogs have retained their 2 melee dice, although their melee bonus has come down from 3 to 2, which, again, kind of needed to happen. They were just too good before. The tribesmen essentially have the equivalent of swords, whereas before they had short spears. And then the dogs, their attack basically is also treated as a sword, whereas the dogs also were before kind of treated as short spears, which, again, kind of made sense if you got a charge off. but overall, just kind of led to some confusion here and there. But here it's just pretty cut and dry. There's no more parrying or anything like that. So yeah, they're just treated as swords, so nothing's overly special there. You could still buy the helmet for them, although that's gone up, and that's again for the tribesmen. And if you did want to buy the short spear now, you could spend that point for the tribesmen, which is potentially useful. Just again with what the short spears do now with the reach ability. So it does make the tribesmen potentially a little bit more valuable there. And the option to purchase a sword is gone just because the tribesmen now come standard with the sword as opposed to coming standard with a short spear. So kind of a swap there. But overall a discount if you choose to upgrade into that. And it's nice that they're not choosing or forcing you to basically swap the sword for the spear or vice versa or anything like that. As before with the Brits, the dog handler rule. So basically one tribesman dog handler for every 4 hounds or part thereof at the start of a battle, and may not have more tribesmen dog handlers than hounds. And then so long as at least one hound remains in the unit, war dogs increase their move to 10 inches during one melee action per phase. So basically getting you that pretty scary charge range there. But yeah, really great unit overall. Another kind of thing that adds some interesting punch to the Gaul list, and gives you something in between cavalry and infantry as far as the speed goes, and the dogs can definitely still do some work with their 2 melee dice apiece. So you just want to load up on those. But again, everything got a little bit more expensive on these guys, which needed to happen. Whether 15 points is too much, that's debatable. We'll have to get games in and see how that works and see what the community thinks. But yeah, overall, good changes there. The mercenary list has changed up a little bit, actually. Which, yeah, kind of makes sense. So before, they said Dacia and Sarmatia and Germania were the potential mercenary lists. So that has now changed to Britons, Gauls, and Germania. So Dacia, Sarmatia is out. Being able to take themselves as mercenaries makes sense. Pretty much most factions can do that. So that was a welcome fix. And then Britons also kind of makes sense as well. So so overall, yeah, pretty good changes here for the Gauls. We still have the special characters to look at, so we'll turn to them next. Alrighty, guys, getting into the heroes here. So we start off with Lucterius. He has seen a solid point decrease like most heroes have. So from 120 down to 94. Again, kind of a little personal gripe that I've been commenting on throughout this series is just some of the point values of heroes. So like I feel like that just needs to stay in multiples of 5. So like make them 95 points, and it's pretty easy to remember. But anyway, stat wise, everything I think has stayed the same here. +2, 3 dice, +3, +3, +3, and 4 wounds. Yep, he's only a level 4 hero. He does have heroic rush, inspire, Lightfoot, quick dodge, and sure-footed, which I think is what has replaced well planted. But we'll cover that when we get to the talents. He does come with a chainmail shirt, large shield, and sword standard, so he's pretty tough there with, again, the armor. That being said, he is a little bit slower, of course, because of the chainmail shirt. He does have the option to get a horse, though, and get some of that mobility back, and that option has, again, decreased by 10 points, so it's only 20 versus 30 now. And he has a really cool special ability, the Guerrilla Fighter one. So before a battle begins, after all forces have deployed, a warband that includes him may redeploy up to half, rounding down, of its units up to 12 from their initial position, so long as they can be placed within or behind cover. So again, depending on the board setup and all that, that really gives you some interesting options to kind of play little mind games with the opponent, and it's kind of like the shell game, and move things into unexpected positions, assuming terrain, and allows that for you. So really neat stuff there. And he can essentially hold his own against pretty much most heroes of his range there and lower. Solid chunk of melee dice, only +2 on melee though. But good armor will kind of keep him around for a bit there. So, but he should be able to clean up on some lighter heroes. And then the main man, though, is Vercingetorix, or Vercingetorix. So he has dropped a good old chunk there. So down to 160 from 220. Level 7 hero still. Stat-wise, everything has remained the same. So that being said, only 5 wounds. Kind of wish he would have 6, but he's got really good stats nonetheless, guys. 4 dice is really good. Still has, let's see, it's called Reckless Charge now, I think. That has replaced Careless Charge, Dirty Fighting, Divine Luck, Light Foot, Piercing Thrust, Shield Bash, Thundering Charge, and Voice of Command. So, yeah, I think it's just a name swap, but I'm sure that's changed slightly as far as what it does. Chainmail, Large, Shield, and Sword, of course. The Horse option as well for 20 as opposed to 30, the way it was. And then his special ability, let's see, if he's present, other mercenary units drawn from the Gaul Warband list may be taken for half the normal cost, rounding up. So, which was interesting because they had that before. But you didn't have the option to take Gauls as mercenaries because of the way it was printed. So I think that's probably cleared up in a FAQ, but nonetheless, really cool thing. Probably not really, fair for like competitive play in that sense, that ability, but very colorful, very interesting, very fun in campaign games and everything. So always good to see that. But overall, just a really solid hero. Again, going to be a little bit slow unless you put him on a horse, but he can definitely do work. +3 melee and 4 dice is going to be very good. He can definitely do some work in a challenge or just clean up on other lighter troops and stuff like that. And then his bravery is definitely going to help with any of the leadership issues that the Gauls might have here and there. Armor is going to be pretty solid and a decent pool of wounds, although probably really could use an extra wound, honestly. But overall, fine. Again, a 60-point decrease definitely makes him a very strong consideration for campaign play or just casual games for you guys. So overall, that kind of wraps up the Gauls, guys. Let us know what you think. Lots of little changes here and there. Most, I would say, all for the better. But again, let us know what your thoughts are on all those changes and how that might affect your forces that you have. And for those who typically play against an opponent who has Gauls, let us know how you feel about the changes. What might you need to change with your faction to deal with some of the way that things have changed here now. Again, check out our video on the weapons and equipment and all that, guys, because again, there are some pretty solid changes there. Leave us a like and a subscribe if you guys haven't already. That helps the channel keep growing. And also, if you guys want to support the channel even more, check out the link in the description there. If you head over to Warlord, pick anything up that comes back and helps support the channel a little bit, and we appreciate everybody who's been doing that. So hope you guys enjoyed. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.